we'll go ahead and get started. I don't think we're too far ahead before Richard gets logged on. He said he had a meeting until 6, so it might take him about 15 or so minutes to get back. So why don't we get started? How was everybody's week?
Crazy.
Crazy, yeah. I finished up my contract with the Gallup Main Street project, so I'm not going back and forth between here and Gallup anymore.
Oh, good.
Loved your sunsets.
The only downside of that drive home was shortly after stopping to take those pictures, I came across a car accident. It was a single car accident. There were a couple people already there who had stopped. And it's a good thing I did, because I actually had rubber gloves in my truck. One of the gals who stopped was an ER technician in Shiprock. The guy had gone off the road, wasn't wearing a seatbelt, got thrown from the car, a really terrible head injury. Boy, it was something else. I was glad I had gloves, because she was, "You have gloves in your truck?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." So we were able to kind of take care of the guy until the EMS got there. But they were trying to it was bad enough that they were trying to get a helicopter in, but both the one in Farmington and the one in Gallup were already doing something.
Wow, that sounds terrible.
It was not a fun. It was a couple of hours and not exactly fun. And I have no idea how I mean, the paramedics weren't too optimistic for him. I mean, he'd been drinking, heavily intoxicated. I mean, you could smell it all over.
Which paramedics picked him up?
Well, the Navajo tribal EMS came in first, but then an ambulance from Farmington got there. And they didn't take their time, but kind of waiting for to see if they could get a helicopter in first or get that. And it ended up the ambulance was get him to Farmington first. So he ended up going to Farmington.
You know, the Shiprock people work really hard and they really try, but they're not as advanced as the San Juan people's ambulance people are.
No, yeah, they didn't have the stuff, so they were like, well, let's go into either San Juan or Gallup. So that was my Friday.
That's scary.
Yeah.
My house is under construction.
Oh.
And we're just finishing it up. And as I was working on the project today, I thought, why did you sign up for this class other than you love it? And then, why did you let them talk you into taking it for credit? Because the girl said to me, could you take it for credit because we get extra points from the state? I says, oh, sure, I bet I could do that.
Yeah.
Sucker punch.
Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to start with is a little bit more, maybe it's something with my fingers. Phone has trouble focusing. I want to do a little bit more work in this foreground for this. You know, I've just got that kind of yellow and orangey scarlet lake, some violet, and a little green kind of thrown in there. And I want to do a little bit more for that. And, let me get that. That's what I was meaning to do while I was chatting. And So if you look at the, if you happen to have your source photo out, sketch or whatever, you can kind of see that there's a fair amount, and I'll just show you that, just so you can see what I'm saying. There's a fair amount of color and there's a fair amount of contrast. Richard was telling me that he decided to leave those in there. As you know, I did not. But I like all this different texture. I like this kind of bushy, that kind of stuff. So, and I like all this color change. I mean, we've got these reds up here. We may not get quite that bright of reds, but because I want this to kind of just look textural in mind. But there's these kind of interesting kind of darks and stuff. So so I want to start with that, and for that I'm going to use. Start off with my maybe I'll use number 8. I think I'm going to use my number 8 round for this, and if you wanted to use your flat, you could definitely use just the pointy edge, that corner brush to get some of the strokes. But just to make it a little easier, I'm going to use the round. And if we look at my sketch, which sketch is probably, but I like those darks that were in here. Even over here, I kind of have those in there modeled a little bit. So that's what I want to kind of work on a little bit without getting too dark and too. I don't want this to look too over. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is use a little opera. Maybe I do like that red that was up in this area in the photo. I think I'm gonna start with a little opera. Just kind of add some color up in here. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just plopping that in on top of the yellow because I want some of the yellow to see through. And you can see where I've placed it. And really, I didn't do a whole lot of I didn't really do a whole lot. All I did was place a little color down, wash my brush out, and then start putting water in and moving that paint around. And as you can see, a whole lot of yellow peeking through all over here. So that's kind of what I want to try. Just going to put in a little of that red. I really liked how that looked. And in this case, it's going to be a little pink. But those bushes they range between pink and burgundy, so I think this will work nicely. And I didn't go all the way over here. I just kind of picked a spot, put that in there. I want to add a little green. I kind of like the little bit of green over here, and maybe some as well. So I'm gonna start with permanent green number 1, and I may switch over to something else later. But I'm just gonna play the tops of this kind of thing. So I think I've got a little bit of something coming in like so. And I'm just sort of accenting this section and putting in a little green. And again, just a light glaze of that green on top of that yellow.
What green is that?
That's permanent green #1, but anything like a grass green or light green of some nature, have a slightly darker, mix it with a little lemon yellow. That'll get you pretty close to that. In fact, I may add a little lemon yellow to mine just to kind of get it a little lighter up in here. And all I'm really doing is just adding some to this. I'm going to come over here and do very similar thing. In this, I want these yucca looking shapes that I drew in here. So the kind of spiky to be in there. And all I'm doing is just going to add this little bit of seeds. I'm not overly concerned with detail or anything like that. Now I'm going to grab a little Hooker's Green mixed with royal blue. So that's Hooker's Green mixed with royal blue. So it's a green, and I'm going to drop a little bit of that down in the bottom here, just to give myself a little contrast down in here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it all the way down into this sort of here. I'm not too concerned with the shapes that I drew. That gives me a little bit of, and I'm going to pull some of that up into that lighter. We're not going for a lot of detail here, just a little. Just a little bit of color change with the dark and the light, or I should say value. And I kind of want that kind of spiky shape. Let's see. I'm going to switch back to like an orange now. So I'm going to use permanent yellow orange. Come in here and highlight some of this bit of this, putting in some darker orange down here. So I'm just going to come in, put some of this dark first. Just paying attention to the shapes that I've drawn, but also kind of seeing any texture that showed up in there from the previous then I'm going to clean. I cleaned my brush out, and now I'm going to kind of add some water in some spots to lighten some of that up. I don't want that whole thing to be that intense. And then I'm going to come in with a little Scarlet Lake. But if you don't have Scarlet Lake, permanent red or any kind of red that you have. And I'm going to come in down in here and kind of add that in. Let me get a little bit more. I didn't quite get enough water.
So Michael,
Yeah.
if we have this on record, where do we go find it?
So I'm actually recording it.
Oh, good.
I'll send you the link. So I sent one for last week's.
Yes, I got those.
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. As long as you have the link, it's a private or non. What is it? It's not called
Non-commercial?
No, but it's unlisted. There we go. That's the word.
Yeah, I got. Excuse me. And I did my drawing, my mini drawing, but I'm still working on my big one. But I'm paying attention, but I want to be sure I can come back in and.
Oh yeah.
This week.
Yeah. So so with that link I said last week, you can just go in, click on it, and go to the YouTube thing, and then this one I'll do the same thing. I'll upload it to YouTube and send you guys the link, and only you guys get the link. So.
Okay. I gotta say, Michael, I love that picture of the road into the mountains. looking forward to working on that one too. It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, and you'll be able to go back and kind of watch those forever because they're on YouTube and it never disappears. I'm not going to. So you guys should have access.
Is that Linda Mascarenas?
It is.
Hey, Linda. I'm
How are
glad I wasn't here last week, so I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is my first class.
I saw you the other day at an intersection, and I was wondering about you. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's good to hear your voice.
You too, dear.
So here I've added a little bit of alizarin crimson down in here, just to even add a little more value change down in here that starts pulling that dark in, and to get it to run up into that little bush there. And I'm thinking I should have probably done a little more dark. This is still damp, definitely dry, but it's not going to hurt anything. I was a little worried about getting too dark too fast. But I think I am going to go ahead and add a little more of that dark Hooker's Green royal blue mix. And I'm actually going to mix in a little bit of royal blue. Pull some of that up into some spots. Now that that's somewhat dry, I can pull that up and add a little bit of shadow and whatnot to some of these the spiky bits. And then I'm going to add a little bit down in here as well. That's I need some water. So I'm going to come in this is the Hooker's Green Royal Blue mix with just a wee bit royal blue and green. And I'm going to add a little bit more water to kind of soften it. Just adding a bit more contrast. We're going to build up to that contrast, but I don't want to overdo it up here because this isn't important. We do want some down up in this area. I think since I have this opera down in here, I'm going to kind of close to dry. I'm going to add a little more alizarin crimson, or you could use like permanent magenta or whatever. It's just a slight kind of either of those work pretty well. And I'm going to come in. The permanent magenta is just better than the quinacridone violet that I've been using, but either alizarin crimson or that would work. And we'll just in a few spots. Just paying attention to the fact that the light is coming from this side. So, okay. I'm going to put a little more of this orange and stuff over here in this area. So I'm going to come in with a little, this may be a slightly different, actually real quick, I have a weird line that's forming here that I don't like. So I kind of want to take that out and let that sort of soften up. Really light area that I've managed to save there. So I'm going to grab a little bit of clearance and fix some of that up. That's totally feels dark on me, but I didn't like that line part in there. So just by adding some more water and down, I can get rid of that, and then save some of that real light white there. Later, this is going to be fairly. I want that contrast. Okay, so back over here, some of that orange, and this is a little bit different shape. Maybe it has a little bit more linear quality to it. It's not quite grass, but it's not necessarily the same kind of plant that is. Just come in with some of this. I still really like this light area, so I don't want to lose too much of that. This orange areas. Pull that down into here, and then switch over to Scarlet Lake. Some spots.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, it went wonderful, really. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna add a little water right here, just to soften that up a bit. And then I'm gonna come in with that alizarin crimson.
Okay.
Down
so
in
right now I'm in my class. My class.
Need to mute your mic.
CLASS.
So just adding this down in that corner. Again, not a lot of detail. If I zoom in on that, you can see it's really just placing paint down there, letting it run together through all of this. You can see it's not a lot of. It's really just working with texture and contrast. I really like that little bit of light up in there. But then I like this pop of color. Obviously, some of this is here, but that's okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to put a little. Let's see. I have kind of a lemony yellow going on up here. I think I'm going to stick with that. Add a little bit more up in there, just so that when I come in with some more green in that area, maybe it looks like a little bit of. Let's see, get that yellow in there. Lemon yellow. I don't know why I said lemon yellow. I think I was reading a children's book or something. And then I can come back in and add just a wee bit more of this green while that's wet and get to kind of run together. More of this light green. It's that green number, probably green number 1, but any very light grass green or that would work. And then back to that mix of hooker's green and royal blue to get just a wee bit darker green than just the hooker's green. A little bit of that over here as well. Maybe in shadow.
No, it shouldn't do that one.
Hey, Janie, how's Jinx doing?
She's doing quite well. I'm not surprised she's not here tonight because she's still not comfortable trying to get Zoom up on her computer, and I'm home tonight.
Oh, okay. No worries. I just was glad to see her last week.
Yeah, well, she spent a good part of the week working on her drawing, and she was going to go back to last week's class, try and catch up.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, she'll be hopefully back driving by early next week.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
So I just added a little bit of green permanent green number 2 right in there. Slightly darker than permanent green number 1. And as you can see, this is still damp and it's kind of running in, and that's okay. So if you have that same thing happen, just don't fight it. Let it do it. See what happens. We're getting a good amount of cool kind of foliage looking things going on here. So I'm getting pretty happy.
Looks good.
What's that?
Looks really good.
Oh, good. Thanks. So I want to add a little more here. Maybe I'll do another one of these kind of bushy shapes over in here. I kind of like how that turned out. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab a little opera and do one of those kind of doohickeys up in here. Again, if I kind of do this lightly, mostly water, just a little bit of opera in my brush, and then come back in with a clean brush and move it around, I can have a lot of that yellow that's already down in that yellow orange that's already down in there peeking through, which gives it some volume. So I have that kind of down in that area. I like that look. Now here, because I have this kind of spiky plant, I'm going to do things just slightly in with that alizarin crimson or permanent magenta down in here. And I'm going to pull some of that down into each shape here, like so. Kind of mimicking that spiky shape. This comes down, it's kind of dark. And starts to show the other side of another little bush. And I'm not going to worry about getting right up next to all of that. There's some yellow in there. I like that. So just kind of around some of it, leaving some of the yellow in there. Let's go this down. And kind of thin that up a little bit. Just adding some more value changes and color changes. And then over here on this, maybe start looking at the top of this, whatever this thing is here. Where I don't like what's going on, I can just put that up because it's still fairly wet. I don't like some of these shapes, some of this back out. I'm not too happy with whatever was going on there. That's still, I think the lines are a little sharp. The edges are a little sharp on some of this, so I want to soften just by picking some of that back up. It's dry enough to where I can, it's where I can do that. I can, but still damp where it's really pretty easy. You can see I pick a lot of that back up and sort of soft. Some of it I left. I don't mind this little bit of hard edge right there. But really, all this is shape and texture. Now that this down here is really dry, this isn't, but I'm going to come in and maybe add a little gray, you know, kind of neutral, not really gray. It's going to be kind of a warm neutral. So it's the quinacridone violet mixed with a little blue, and then just to gray it down a little bit to neutral it, make it. That's not even a word. That's not even how you say it. To make it a little more neutral, I've added just a hint of that Hooker's Green Royal Blue mix as well. So let's see if I can get this the way I like it. At first, I added a little too much of the green. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh, doing that. Let me just pick this up. You can see right here, that's that. And then I've just been pulling some of this green over into that, and it's making it right over here. So still very vibrant, but not too much. And there's a whole lot of water, so it looks like it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of that down in this area, and you'll see after I put it down, I'm going to go back in. Start here. I'm going to go back in with just a clean brush. So I put that in and just start adding water in some spots to really soften some of the. And really, I'm just making this in here because you know, I want some contrast. You don't really want a whole lot of interest. You know, the view. I don't want a lot of interesting stuff. I still want to kind of make it feel like part of the painting. So, and there were some of these kind of in the real scene, so I feel like this is an okay color combination. I still want that kind of yellowy stuff, like the top on Chamisa or something like that. I could even come in and make kind of a neutral peacock blue if I wanted to. And add a little bit of that just so I get that kind of Chamisa gray blue foliage look. Again, that's not necessarily what kind of a thought of what it could be in my world. What not really caring about what it is in real life. Just adding some more color and texture. So pick up some of that. If I feel like it needs to be a little darker, I can add a little more. To this. I can even come over here. Maybe there's a bit of a something going on here, some sort of shadow. It's down in shadow. It won't really matter because a lot of this, that blue. But I want enough textural changes and color changes to make it look like, again, like it's part of the painting. A little too sharp right there, so I'm going to pick some of that back up. Just drawing, drawing my brush off, and then coming back in with that thirsty brush, and picking up some of those shapes. Here, I kind of want that. I'm going to pull some of that magenta and have that kind of bleed into it. I'll have a little bit of that down in here as well. Right now, it just looks kind of pink. Once it dries, it'll look a little bit different. So adding a little color and then coming back in with water and letting that kind of dissipate. I mean, before you zoom in on that, I'm not sure. I'll come in just a little bit of that color, some spots. Clean my brush out. And a little bit of clean water. It doesn't really stay clean. Yeah. Kind of brushy things. I think I'm going to do this thing right here. So I'm going to start off with a little purple or violet and add that. Again, it's going to look way darker than it's going to end up being. Because I put some color down, completely wash my brush out, and then just start adding some clean water. Pick a little of this, kind of like almost blue. It's just a wee bit of Hooker's green and then royal blue. I'll put some of that down in there. I don't want too much. Pick some of that back there. How's everybody doing? Do you need me to stop and wait for a bit? I'm going to dry this here in a second. We'll have a little bit of.
Having the video available allows us to catch up, so it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I like doing this. Even after we get to go back into the classroom, I think I'm going to keep doing this and ask them. Even I've been looking at ways of. I'm going to talk to them about doing it so that I can put it up on the projector screen behind, and then everybody can sort of stay while I demo, and then and watch it from their seat. Let's see. Got some sharp over here, so I'm gonna. But then also I can record and make those available. So that's my plan, even after we get back into the classroom, whenever that will be, which, according to the college, doesn't seem to be soon. Or they're not holding their breath. Yeah. Not too shabby. So some of this I'm going to look back in here, this area, because some darker bits down in and around some of that, distinguish between the different different planes of stuff, whether it's foliage up front or the flat of the building. You soften that. Bit of a line here that didn't decided to come back. Just going in with water and picking up some of that edge that I didn't like. About that one, but go ahead and lift it anyway. Just softening that. I think I'm going to do the same here. Got an edge forming there. Here for soften it up with a Kleenex because I'll have some darks back here that I wanna that'll help this. I think I am going to add just a wee bit more royal blue and let's see, royal blue and quinacridone magenta. But in this case, I want it to be a little bit more on the blue side than it was. So you can even use indigo or some other dark blue. Yeah. But I'm going to pull some of that down in. And if it bleeds down into this, that's okay. I'm just going to divide this up into a couple of wherever it is. And pick some of that back up. Just going to let that do its thing there. That way I get a few more lost edges by letting that bleed into that. I almost feel like maybe this needs to come over a little more and grab some of what was I using? I was using permanent magenta or alizarin crimson. One of those two, alizarin crimson. I feel like this needs to kind of come over more. All I'm doing is putting a few little dots of that color on some of these spiky shapes, but it helps that feel like it's a little differently shaped. Now I don't want a perfect arch, so over here, pull some of this up into this area like so, just to change the shape a bit. Need to, you can always switch to a smaller to get in between some of these little things. But it also kind of helps make that a little more spiky. Show you. Talking about. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to look all right. I'm going to dry this real quick.
Oof. Darn it. It's all right, baby. Mama just dropped her paintbrush on the wrong color, on the wrong part of the canvas.
Trying to eat a pear at the same time. Being part of it.
Coming up either.
So now we need to do a little bit of work on this because we have what looks like one light plane going across here. We're going to need to differentiate between like this shape, which is further forward than that shape, but still slightly. And then we also need to help push this whole section in here is one plane as well. So I'm going to have to we're going to have to figure out a little something to help push that back. One of the things I'm going to do first is kind of decide how I this door to look. Obviously, if you look at the course photo, I've got more of a door showing than probably than is there, but that's okay. And I can just kind of at kind of a blue door. I'm a big fan of that, the blue trim, the Santa Fe and Taos especially. So I kind of want to do something like that. I'm going to do that for all these little details, possibly even wooden and these beams here. But we'll start with this door. We can look at placing, actually pushing this back from this back from that. So let's see. First thing I want to do, and for this, it is back in there, and it's so small. I don't spend a lot of time on detail, anything like that. I'm just going to do a few changes. I'm going to start with a little peacock blue. Let me kind of clean space on the palette here. Little peacock blue. Had a lot of other stuff in that puddle. I'm just going to come in and kind of paint this rectangle that I've got drawn on here. Not worrying about the other lines that I have in there or anything like that. I'm going to add a little opera down in here and let that run in together. Maybe I'll go in and grab a little or I could even do cerulean blue if I wanted. I could even grab a little green. I think in this case I'm going to grab down in here. And all this is just the first wash. But as I get lower, I'll start thinking about what this foliage top looks like. So I think that's going to be about where it's going to go. I think I am going to switch to a slightly smaller. Go to my number 6 real quick. This is a tiny little space. I'm going to grab a little Hooker's Green, toss that in there. Over here, just these are weird colors for a turquoise, blue door. It all kind of reads like faded paint. So, and that's kind of the look I'm having all clear colors in there. I'm going to go back to this peacock blue now. One in here, and then look at the top of the foliage. There we go. So I have that kind of. A little more of that turquoise. The turquoise, or if you're using cerulean blue, that's a little more opaque of a color. Dropped a little of that in there, which is fine. I kind of like that because it gives it a kind of chalky appearance. There we go. Kind of clean up that edge just a skosh. And there we go. So I have that first little bit. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and start thinking, I think like this post, definitely these window panes. I'm just going to go in with a little, so I'll start with this one right there. I have a little peacock blue. And I'm just going to pull that in. It looks really dark. But as soon as I add some water here, it'll be fine. Just kind of pull that in, maybe a little more of the opera. Get that kind of faded paint. We'll add, detail and shadows, although not a lot, because again, these windows aren't the most. Or I'm going to bring a little more peacock blue into there. Maybe add a little of the Andrews turquoise down in here. Or some, and then let that kind of run in together. Back to Andrews turquoise. I'm going to have this central dividing pane come down here. Again, not worrying too much about detail. A lot of the color that was in that actually got picked up from the pine trees in front, and that's okay. Maybe I'll go to a little cerulean blue, a little chalky. That's a little dark, so I want to pick some of that water. Really, I probably should have started with this one. For this one, I'm just going to kind of mock that, like. So far away that there doesn't need to be a whole lot of change, color change or anything. I think back in here we'll have a little bit of a door peeking in or peeking out, so we'll have just a bit more. It's okay if this is on top of that. Again, I'm just going to pop this in. To it later. A little more water, maybe just a skosh of the I had a bit of a curve on the top there. I'm kind of flatten that out. Same with this one. I think I'm going to use a little just the cerulean on this. Very similar, putting it down to the peacock blue. Quite a bit. This one's big enough I could actually do a little color change. So maybe I'll add a little Andrews turquoise. Also a little more opaque than the other colors. And a little opera. Andrews turquoise. Make sure I get these right. That's ended up better than it could have been. But again, this is, this is on, so it doesn't really matter. We'll go into a little this dark green, dark hooker's green mix down in here. And then back to kind of some peacock blue down in here. If if yours is smaller than mine, this little window, you may just want to just do it similarly I did over here. Just do a single color on the paint. It's not that important. And it looks kind of clunky right now, but once we've added in everything, it'll be fine. Same thing on this last window. Come in with the peacock blue, maybe a little Andrews turquoise. Pull that in there. Let it do its thing. Opera spots. Maybe some cerulean blue. Yeah, it's looking all right. And then I'm gonna, while this is still wet, start the first glaze on this post. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make this post, even though in the photo it's brown, wood colored. I'm gonna do it the painted blue. So I'm gonna little peacock blue coming in. Let's see. Do a little opera. Ooh, I got a big old clunk of paint on my brush right there. I have to remember that. And let's go to a little cerulean blue here. And again, we're just kind of laying in this first glaze. I'll do a little Andrews turquoise down here. Maybe a little more opera. I'll drop that in. Work my way around the top of that thing in front. Let's see, I need to finish this. Finish this off with a little turquoise. Actually, I am gonna, so I have the Andrews, but then I'm gonna come in with a little royal blue right here. Too much water on my paper and not enough in my brush. So a little let me reload my brush here. There we go. Get that kind of bleed in. That little bit of royal blue there is going to help push that back in state. So while those things are dry, I'm going to put this door right here. I'm going to put a little detail into that. I've got kind of a beam going across right here. So I'm going to come in, I think with a little indigo. And again, my number 6 brush. And I'm going to just do a little line work, a little shadow where there's edges of things. So I have this post, or not a post, this beam kind of going on the top here. There's a bit of a shadow on that. Then I've got this edge of this post where the door comes in. That'll help. And again, all this is going to get we add some shadow over the top of it. And then, let's see, the edge of the door, that kind of come down across. And then maybe the center bit feeds into the edge of the door. And I don't know if we can see this side of the door. Maybe it's a double door, who knows? But I'm going to go ahead and put a wheel right in. And again, all this is real fine line work, just to add a little detail. It's all going to kind of disappear once we add it, but it'll be there, but it'll be visible, but not as. Then I want to add just a hint of a slightly darker shadow right along this edge, top of the doorway, where I get that kind of bowing out of adobe or stucco. So I'm going to come in with a little permanent violet and let's see, what is it? Burnt sienna, and then I've got a little bit of. Actually, it's not permanent violet, it's permanent magenta. I'm sorry. So it's the lighter magenta. You could use alizarin. Actually, you could just use alizarin by itself. But I want this to be slightly on the more brown side. So I grabbed a little bit of burnt sienna. And I'll show you that really quick. Grab this. That's this kind of right here. So it's some of the permanent magenta or alizarin crimson, whichever you want to use, with a teeny tiny bit of the burnt sienna. And I'm going to do this. What I'm going to do is kind of line the. I'm going to put a little line right along this edge, just really lightly. I want to stay mostly the yellow bit. Just a little bit of we're just adding a little bit of edge. Not a lot. But then I want to completely clean my brush out and come along with just a clean and soften that outside edge. So I'm just adding just a hint of a bit of a bevel. I need to get a little bit more purpley color in there, just to kind of. Again, just sort of right along there with a clean brush. I did add a little more purple right in here, and that's okay. And that's only because I know that this is going to get a little bit dark once I drop a shadow in there. So I'm adding just a bit of that darker purple mix down in here. But again, that edge is kind of rounding it. Let's see what I'm talking about. Just clean brush. Going along there, softening that little bit of an edge. Yeah. So I'm gonna dry that real quick. Then we have to think about where this cast shadow is. So we know that this is the back edge of this sort of opening. Kind of thinking I should bring it just a bit more. I have this is that dark purple neutral color. I am going to bring it out just a bit more so it's got a substantial kind of thing right there. And this is just the button, you know, the ceiling, this little bump out. Let me kind of make that. I want it to be a little bit further out. And this is where we kind of decide where our light's coming from. So if it's a little bit, you know, if it's back here at kind of this angle, then we know that this shadow will come down kind of like that here from this edge. But will it be that deep? I don't know. This isn't a huge out, but you know, steam a little bit, and it really doesn't matter. So maybe we have this coming down like that, and then straightening. So let me grab my pencil here. We got it coming down at that angle, and then because it's very deep, it forms a little shadow right about there. That's probably fairly close to me in real life. And then this edge, so we want it coming in right about there. Now I don't really want it right on the corner. So I'm going to pull it in over here. And this edge is going to, you know, this shadow is going to come down like that. So let's see that. Not that anything on this painting is straight. And the only reason I'm, you know, I probably would skip this in even if I wasn't working with you guys, just because it like where that is. Again, I've got this following that same angle. And then because this doesn't, if I felt like that was even too far, I could bring it into here. I just don't want it to line up with this, either of these two lines, or that line, or that line, or I don't want it coming in at this there or right there. because then it looks like this is part of it. So I want it overlapping enough to where it doesn't, you know, it's either before or after one of these vertical, you know, sections. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paint this whole kind of shadow shape, a bit of a shadow shape. And I'm going to start out with up here. I'm going to start out with a little permanent magenta, and I can use the same stuff because it's not a huge. But I've got a little permanent magenta. It's a little bit lighter than the permanent violet that I started with there. So it'll really let some of this light shine through. And again, it's a cast shadow. I want that wall color to kind of peek through. So I've got some permanent magenta coming in. Then I think I'll switch to a little royal blue. And in here, I'm going to bring this shadow all over everything, even that white bit where the windows were. So royal blue. Drop a little, that's not running against quite well enough, so I'm going to drop a little water on there. Really pull it down. Maybe a little hooker's green in there. Let's kind of pull that down in. It's a little weird right now, but don't worry, we'll add some, you know, to the windows and stuff to stand out again. Let's go back to some royal blue now, I think. I'm not too worried about covering up some of, I mean, this is light enough that that even though it looks like it's covered that window that I painted, that'll show through here. Let's see. Like that. I think I'm going to switch to a little quinacridone magenta just by itself. A spot here. I'm kind of liking that warmer bit, but I don't want it quite that light down in here, so I'm going to switch to this. And as I get down close to these bushy shapes, I need to make sure that I take into account and sort of decide what the top of those are going to look like. So there we have that shadow coming down. And again, you don't have to put a lot of detail into that shape. I mean, look closely. You look closely at what I've done. There's not a lot of detail. I just kind of, you know, mimicked some of the things that I've got over here. I feel like that's a little too dark. I can lift some of that back up. It does look quite a bit darker on screen than in life. But you can see as it's starting to dry, you can still see that window behind there. That's a weird light spot that formed there. So I'm just going to pull some color down over on it real quick. Maybe a little peacock blue just to there. That's a weird bit of fuzz. I thought it was color, but it was fuzz. So now I'm going to do the same kind of over. So I think I'm going to start, I kind of want to start with that warmer quinacridone magenta in this area right in. Just kind of pull that on over part of the door, and then we'll switch to some royal blue over this here. This isn't a huge shape, not as much in there, but I'm going to pull this kind of shadow down over that. Maybe a little more of that opera, or not opera, I mean quinacridone magenta kind of coming down there. Mixing with that blue, a little more purple. So it almost looks like a mauve. And then down. There we go. So we have a bit of shadow there. Now, if we were really doing a detail of this, we would break up the planes of that shadow a little bit, you know, because the door is going to be inset from this, that's going to be inset from that. So far away, I'm not too worried about that. It's not really that important. Add just a wee bit more water so it's not quite as dark. And again, I can see most of the dark lines. We go back in and touch those up here, but I wanted them in enough so I could be able to see once, you know, see them a little bit once I painted this shadow. The door, but you can see how it's helped push this plane. How's everybody doing?
Moving along.
Do you need me to pause for a minute?
I do not like shadows.
Yeah, just a little practice. I don't always get them to turn out great either. So it's just, you know, I get them and they're awesome, and there are days when they're terrible. So it just takes practice. I'm going to hit that with just a wee bit of a Kleenex to pick up some of that excess. So it's not quite as it was. Dry that a little bit.
Like she said, if she's tired, she wanted to get out of bed. So. She was supposed to be Diane.
So Michael,
Yeah.
while I was trying to catch up,
Mm-hmm.
I drew my picture with a dull graphite pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, when I went to paint it, graphite bled all over the place.
Oh, that's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those sketching. I bet.
Yeah. So I am now redrawing. I've scrubbed it out 4 times. I mean, the whole painting, everything. And I can't get the dark lines to disappear, so I'm starting over. But my question is, what is the pencil you use?
I use like, let's see. I'll use a regular number 2 pencil. That's what this Farmington High School pencil is. It's a number 2.
Oh, okay.
But I also have used, let's see, where did it go? I'll use a slightly softer, not one that washes. let's see. This is an extension. Let me see if this actually. No. So this is a general pencil that broke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all graphite. So I have it in this little pencil extension. But I can tell. Let's see. Pull out my box of.
Oh, your little toy box.
So this is a 4B.
A 4B?
Yeah, 4B. It's a little softer, but the let's see, and this one is 2B. Same kind of deal. Let's see.
And what is it? It's a different, is it a graphite or is it?
This one doesn't have any wood, so it's just all graphite wrapped in a plastic thing. Same with this one.
Oh, okay.
But you know, this is a number 2.
Okay.
That the only thing with the number 2 pencil, because it's a little bit harder than some of these, is that you don't want to push down very hard when you're drawing. You want to just lightly sketch with a number 2. This is an HB pencil. I don't know who made this, but anyway, the work. Don't use the sketch or sketch wash, because those are great if you're just sketching with graphite and want to add a little bit of a graphite wash. But I made the mistake one time of doing something, and I have one somewhere, and I don't know what. Made the mistake of using that on a painting, and oh, it looked terrible. I had to completely.
That was mine. It just kept bleeding. I was painting, and then this graphite would come down into it, and I dab it up, and I try to wipe it off, and it went from bad to worse, and then horrible. So you're saying don't use the water soluble?
Yeah, don't use the water soluble pencil.
You know, I use the General Pencil Company brand.
Yeah.
Kimberly, and it's a graphite drawing, and I don't have any running with them. They're green with a gold end.
Yeah, they're nice pencils.
I think I see those.
And then the other ones that I use that don't have running, let me get the other brand.
And you said that was General?
Yeah, General makes a nice pencil. That's what this little tiny graphite one is. It's woodless. It's a woodless. So it just has this thin.
So they have. So it'd be the General Pencil compressed graphite sticks. Is that what it is?
It's the USA General Pencil Company, Kimberly.
Okay.
I've used them for a long time, and they last a long time, and I haven't had any problems with them ever running. And then there's another brand, they're blue colored, but I have some, but I can't find them right this moment. They're a blue colored one that you can buy at Hobby Lobby that are pretty good too.
Oh, okay. And those are non-wash.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you.
This is
Pencil.
The other ones I really like are the Stettler pencils. Staedtler.
Okay.
And you can get those at, these ones are made in Germany. And I've never had issues with them running either. And I just kind of interchange between those two because that's the only brands I have.
Okay, that's good to know.
This looks like a standard number 2, but it's actually an HB from Dixon Ticonderoga.
Uh-huh.
But you know, any pencil, as long as it's not water soluble.
Uh-huh. What does HB mean? I have a 6B and a 2B, and they're the graphite, aquarelle, Faber-Castell, or Castell. So what does the B mean? And is H a finer tip?
No, yeah, H is harder and B is black.
Okay.
So a number 2 pencil is kind of a mixed gray, but a 2B is dark. You want, I kind of like the HB, but I also like a 6B, it's really dark if you're sketching. But even if you lightly sketch anything with a 6B, because it's so soft, it won't put indentions in your paper. So like if you're watching anything Carl Purcell does, he sketches in 6Bs. He uses those because they're so soft that that he can lightly sketch in, and he's not in any danger of putting a dent in his paper. Whereas with a normal number 2 pencil, like this Farmington High School one, you can actually put a dent in the paper because it is harder. But again, just having a little bit of control sketching and being very light-handed, you can almost use any pencil as long as it's not water soluble.
Well, I haven't had this problem except they were both dull. And I thought, oh, I'll just do it lightly, but it laid down thick. Oh, live and learn.
Yeah, I've done that same thing. Wasn't even thinking about it. Picked up that pencil and started sketching. And then immediately, when I started trying to, it's just, the graphite everywhere. My yellows looked really gross.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm starting completely over. So I'm just basically watching.
Oh, well, that's cool.
I'm on Amazon for a pencil.
I was gonna see if I had. Oh, here is this it? Yeah. So here's the one that I'm talking about. So this is called. Oops, it's upside down. This is called Sketch and Wash. And if I'll show you here. I'll flip this painting over. If I draw lightly with it, see how it's up, and I can actually, it bleeds. So anywhere I was trying to do it a little darker, but even if I'll put in a little darker line. This is the one I actually picked up. It's really cool when you're just sketching with red, because you can do some watercolor blends with it. So it is really cool, but if you introduce any kind of color, at least yellows, it looks horrible. But it's really cool. It's a cool pencil, just not if you're going to use color.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You can kind of come in back in where it's wet and run as well that way. So it is a really cool pencil, and this is actually, who makes this? I don't even know the brand. It's just Sketch and Wash. I think I've sharpened over the bit where they told me it was, but yeah, don't ever use one of these to sketch your.
Yeah.
But it is cool for other things like drawing, where you want a bit of a watercolor wash to it. All right, so I'm gonna everybody's pretty caught up because that didn't really didn't really. Oh yeah, I see, Melanie. That pencil definitely that graphite ran. So you have something similar, whether it's that brand or not. You have,
Yeah, and I scrubbed it, scrubbed it, and saturated the whole picture 4 times and scrubbed it, and it just looked terrible, and the paper's all lumpy, so just gonna
Mhm.
start over.
Yeah. Well, once that dries, flip the paper over and use the other side. Unless that is the back side of the.
No, it's the front, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. So I want to push this back. So I'm going to start with both of these and kind of push portion back from this one. And the reason I'm going to do it over both is so that when I dry it and do this other part here, oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot that there's a bit of, and I can come in and soften this line. I'll add a shadow from this that it'd be stern in there. But that's okay. I can deal with that. But so what I'm going to do is come in with my number 8 brush, and I'm going to use a little. I think I'm going to start with a little Pyrrole orange. But if you don't have Pyrrole orange, you could use like why is my mind going blank? Well, if you have permanent yellow orange, you can use that, or cadmium orange, or something. You know, just because this, even though some of that, I use right here. I've got permanent yellow orange right there. The fact is, we're going to go in with a little bit more paint and less water in this thing. In fact, I'm going to start with a permanent yellow orange, not the Pyrrole orange. But I'm just going to make a little puddle of that, and we're going to go in and I'm going to paint up to this line. So I'm going to start along there and kind of bring this down and then over, and this will help push. And then I'll just soften this edge. Let's help push that back. Now I started with the permanent yellow orange, but I could go in, maybe I'll add a little opera just to break that color up. So I'll just add a little of that here. That'll mix with the orange and help. And so then I just want to, I don't get any weird lines. But you can see how that's already pushed both of those planes back. And then I need to push, once this dries, I'm going to need to push this section here back so this pops forward. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I can come over and kind of add a similar thing back in here. This will probably all be in shadow anyway, but I'm going to push this back just with a little orange. Maybe I could add a little, if I wanted, I could, because this is going to be a little darker, I could add a little scarlet lake back in here. So I can just kind of bring that in and push that back. I've got a little weirdness going on right here. Sticks with a little dark there. Push that whole, those two sections. Now later, we'll push that section further. But you can see that I'm getting, I'm helping push, pull this section forward, push that section. I'm already getting a little of that here with this shadow and this cast shadow, and also down in here. Now I do feel like this is all very, it needs a little bit more variation in color. So I need to push it, to kind of help it out a little bit. So I'm going to start with bit of the permanent yellow orange in a few spots. Just add. This is basically just going to be. We're not going to cover the whole thing. We're not going to do something like we did. Maybe a little of that, just to add a little over there. I'm going to come in with a little opera right here where I had some. Pull that back up into there in a few spots. Maybe a little Scarlet Lake down in here, because I want to kind of sculpt the touches that are here. I'm just going to pull that up from where I placed that. And because this is going to be so, I don't have to worry about too much about the fact that that's darker than it was. Maybe a little Pyro Orange. Again, if you don't have Pyro Orange, don't worry about it. Just or even Scarlet Lake, permanent red or something like that. And then some of that. Pop that in. Little Pyro Orange up in here, maybe. Just a little extra texture. You got to be careful with Pyro Orange. It's not as it's a little bit more than it doesn't lift as easily. So there we go. That.
Okay, I love you a lot. I'm so glad you. Well, I just got you called.
So still pop forward. I got a little weirdness going on here, but that's okay. I think I got that a little far over, but it's okay. So I'm going to dry that real quick. I could add a little bit more here, and probably will, just to get some texture.
Is that more scary? I just.
I don't know if you guys can kind of see what I did.
I couldn't figure out how they were going to use it.
Added a little bit more color to that. Okay.
Yeah, what did they, dominoes, or what did they use? Butterfly. Yeah.
Okay. Where I forgot to add the shadow from this post, I'm just going to come in with a little peacock blue right in there and really soften up that edge, and then pull this down.
It was really good.
Just a wee bit of a, I don't know if this would really be visible, but I'm going to add a little bit of a bump out for the side. This, what is that? Is that called? The cap, if you will, of the column on the other side, on the left-hand side of this. I'm just gonna. I don't even know if it would really form this shape, but it doesn't matter. That's what I'm going to do. So I've got a little bit of a bump kind of coming out. And then that shadow coming straight down. Okay, so let's get on with this. So what we need to do now, without losing too much, we need to make it really dark. So we don't want to go in with one of these kinds of color. But we want to make it a little bit darker. What I'm going to do is actually start, well, I am going to use that, the quinacridone magenta. But if you don't have quinacridone magenta, you can use alizarin crimson. And that's what I'm going to use to kind of start this and see what I'm going to, how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to get a good, very watery wash of quinacridone magenta or alizarin crimson. And I'm going to pull that in just a little bit there. That's a little bit too much, but that's okay. Pull that down. And then I'm going to pull it down into this area. I don't want to get it onto this, so I'm going to go along. I'm going to put a line of paint and water along there. And you can see this isn't, it's mostly water, very little paint. Follow that line along there. And then also like here. Here's a little. Add a little of that. We'll add a little orange to this as well. Push this wall back. Let me do this. And this is that permanent yellow orange, cadmium orange, if you want to use that. I want a little bit of that lemon yellow peeking through. So I want to make sure that and you can see, even though my line was really visible, and I could, if you look carefully, you can still see it below. But that color hides that. Even though it's pretty apparent that, if you're really looking for it, you can see it. It starts to hide that line made by the pencil. You put a little, I'm going to put a little Scarlet Lake in along here. Just to make that pop a little bit more, add a lot of water. This looks really dark because it's wet. As it dries, it'll dry a lot lighter. I think I'm going to pull Scarlet Lake down in here as well.
So I just wondered if you're going to go to school.
A little bit over in here as well, just so I get up in here.
Yeah.
Shadow, little bits of the stucco or whatever that's forward, some's back. We're going to have little bits of shadowy lighter area. And then we can kind of come down into, let's see, as we go down into this area.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do like I did last time and bring along and
I'll use a little Scarlet Lake for right now down in here. Put that up. Is somebody talking in the background? Is somebody, whoever's got somebody talking in the background, could you turn your mic off?
Sorry, I'm a Hummer. I'll stop it.
No, that wasn't, no, I was sounded like somebody on the phone. So, no, it wasn't a humming. Just the somebody else talking in the background gets distracted. So I lose my train of thought. Sorry about that. So I'm just going in with a little bit more color it is actually area up, but it's still these light, warm colors. So it's going to feel much lighter than this cooler, shadowy area. And as I get here, I want to differentiate that a little. So what I'm going to do is come in, I think I was using Opera right there. I'm going to come in with a little either alizarin crimson, magenta again, and sort of scope the tops of this, it'll help push that wall behind this bush. I don't want a lot of it, just a little bit. So once I get kind of enough on there, I'm going to come back in and lift some back up just with a clean brush. So add a little water, dry the brush off. And then lift in some spots. So this section back as well, push back as well. Pushed back, there we go. So I want to do some similar with a little of this, this kind of stuff that I got going on here, on the other side of that. And then a little scarlet lace. Just to help that get pushed back. And then into that alizarin crimson or permanent magenta kind of. And that kind of helps push that wall back just a bit. Still, let's see, maybe more of that permanent magenta or alizarin crimson in these areas.
Michael,
Yeah.
when you get a chance, could you put up the original picture just for a minute? I am having such a hard time reconciling the shadow that you put in to the left of the middle that I wanted to see.
This one here?
Yes, yes.
Mine is definitely
Yes.
different than the photo.
Okay.
But I'll show you. Let's see. Did that here? Can you see it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here it's coming down under. But the reason
Right.
I didn't want to do that is because it comes into here and then it stops behind. So it's weird.
Right.
Kind of weird thing going on here. So I brought it a little bit lower and down. Now I made these windows a little bit bigger and kind of shortened the distance.
Yeah, I understand all that. I'm just, everything else in the photo makes, or the painting makes sense to me, but that shadow, my eyes are just not reading it right, I guess. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if it's you. It could be. I mean, I do make mistakes every now and then.
Well, it makes, because of the way it's angled and stuff, it makes it look like it's a push out from the building in my eyes.
Well, and that makes, because I have the this edge. So what can fix that, and I think you're catching it here, is I need to go in and soften this edge. So it's not really dark. And I think that will help solve that.
Okay.
Also,
well, I'm like Melanie. I stopped working on mine because I just need to redraw the whole thing. But
well, that's okay. Also, I think now that I've got both the shadow and this, I think that this shadow needs to be darker as well. Like looking at it, I don't think it's dark enough right now. Even though on the original photo it's dark, I think for my
right,
it needs to be darker. And I think that will help a little bit too. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, really, here's another problem I found. So really, this shadow start, it should come kind of out and down like that as well. So it shouldn't start. I think that's the other problem. It should kind of come along the edge a little bit and then down.
Hmm.
So I think you've found a couple of issues with my good critique, Janie.
I,
But Michael, isn't that still, that's back?
Still what now?
That's still part of the wall back?
This right
The one that the windows are attached to?
here.
Right up to the corner you were talking, where you thought there should be more shade. Isn't that one solid there? And that's one solid wall?
Yeah, this right here, not counting this little bit that pops forward, but this whole section is one wall. Yeah. Looking at the way the shadow, this wouldn't start right at that corner. It would come out a little bit.
Oh,
Maybe not as far as I have it, but it would come out a little bit, so it wouldn't come right in the corner.
I see.
Because technically, well, I think what's bugging me now that I'm looking at this is the way I drew it. This little part really should be taller. Just a skosh taller than this part. So it should actually pop up a little bit. I still didn't draw it.
well, that's the problem I was having because even with trying to do the pushback, mine just looks like a flat building, and yet I don't have the perspective right. I know that.
That reminds me of the first painting I did in your class. It was that cabin far away, and you were helping me get the eaves.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not see that. I just could not see it. It took me forever to see what you were, to understand what you were doing.
Yeah. Well,
And then it was like, oh.
Really, it should pop up like, so this should be the top of the roof along here. It's kind of jaggedy, but I can fix that with a mountain. But really, this needs to pop up. It actually pops up just a skosh of this. And I think that would solve a bunch of problems. At least problems with my painting. So you see how I
Yeah.
there. I think that's part of the problem you're noticing with my paint. And then that would make this come out and drop down so it wouldn't be at the point where it meets. So if
That makes a little more sense.
Yeah, if I come in, what do I have there? I have a little quinacridone magenta or violet. If I come in right here, bring that up. I need to just soften that in.
Oh, that makes a difference.
Yeah, so if I just by doing that, that'll start to help. So I've made it a little bit taller. I'll bring in this to make it a little bit darker all the way down. I just let it get like, and I don't really need to worry about these lines being super straight because even on the real, kind of wonky because it's Adobe. I'll just pull that down. Maybe add a little royal blue down in here where I had some before. Maybe then royal blue mixed with green, but that's okay. There's that'll help. And then dry that real quick. All right. As long as this top area is dry. So then if I come in with that quinacridone magenta or alizarin crimson, kind of in here, just that little bit of help. Plus, I think if I edge a little softer later, so it's not quite as sharp. I think that's part of the problem. I was starting to mess with it. But if this comes down, get a little, what do I have in here, royal blue or something? Doesn't really matter. Just soften that existing line. And even if it continues to kind of, not going to be the end of the world.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to create a whole issue.
No, actually, it was a good critique, and it was bugging me. I was trying to figure out what it was, and you saw it before I. Yeah, if I just bring this down like that, does that help a little bit?
Yes, it does. And I think while you drew it, you haven't painted the front side of the wall with
Yeah,
that you raised. But
once I
yeah,
add that in there, it'll really help. So if I come in with
yeah,
a little lemon yellow, maybe actually in this case, a little permanent yellow deep. Soften that upper line. Just kind of get that. That's gonna help.
now that definitely is making more sense to my eye.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good catch. It was starting to bug me. I couldn't figure out what it was, and you caught it. So good job.
Thank you.
See, when you start to, I used to rely on my mom to critique my work all the time, and then I got to the point where I could start critiquing her work. When you can get to the point where you can see something, I think that's a good thing. So that's good movement forward.
Good job, Janie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I think that helps quite a bit. That it was bugging me too. I was thinking that really looks so. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that corrected it in my eyes anyway.
Yeah. So that helps. That's a fair amount. Good catch. I'm really impressed. Yeah. I think that this, even though it really is about the same value as this, I need to push back a little bit more. At least once I add some volume to this stuff, it'll help. But I am going to push that back just a bit more with little alizarin crimson right up in here. Now it looks like I'm putting a lot down, but I'm going to just put that much down and then completely wash my brush out and come back in and sort of help. That'll help push that back just a little bit more. It's still popping and it'll fight us until we get some of this other stuff. But you can kind of see where we're at. But can you see how it's forward from that, which is forward from that? This
Yes.
just a skosh
Yeah.
here. And I did get this kind of lined up. I need to kind of fix this little issue. I didn't quite paint that, great. So I'm just going to come in with a little water and get rid of that little bump out that was bugging me. Same with down. I just come along here. Basically just scrubbing lightly with my brush. Get rid of that overhang, where this bit started imposing itself over this part. So I had that weird line, and then I can come in and just kind of lift it a little bit with my Kleenex. But that kind of cleaned up that line. Now this, I'm going to clean up with the sky. I could come in and kind of scrub that a little bit just to clean it up a little bit, but it's not going to matter. Once I put the sky in there, it'll kind of disappear. But I think that's starting to work a little bit. This is now kind of muddied that those shapes. So I want to come back in with I think in this case I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use. I really am going to use a little indigo, but I was using Antwerp blue there for a second. So I've got a little indigo, and I'm just going to use my number 6 brush. And in this case, I really want to roll my brush as I pick it up so I can get that point back. And I'm going to go back in and add that little bit of a line for the. Kind of helps me with the doorknobs right here. I don't know why the door would open that way, but on my door it's maybe I'll add a few little streaks of blue in here as well, just to help it look like there's good panels in the. Or planks of wood in the wooden door. And then I want to kind of do the same thing over here. Looking at this, so I'm going to come in. Let's see, I've got beam going across here. I'm going to post underneath it. And then I've got edge door. And top of the door. Just a hint of that in there. And then I need to, you know what I forgot to do was paint this beam right there. And really I need to go in and also do that little bit of shadow there. So let me blue, maybe a little opera. So that's peacock blue and opera that I'm going to use here. Just to give that a little peacock blue. And then I'm going to dry that really quickly. Jamie, I can't believe how much that helped. I really
Yeah.
got that. So I want this kind of wall here, which is basically the plane as plane. It's the same sort of type of edge as this here. It just goes back in a bit more. And I want it to be fairly dark, so I'm going to come in with a little indigo.
So is that a recessed doorway is what that is?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I've got a little and I was experimenting, so we'll see how it turns. So I have a little indigo and then a little bit of the permanent violet, macrodome violet mixed with royal blue down in here. Kind of push this. I'm going to let that dry. Well, actually, then I'm going to kind of put the ceiling in. Well, I'm going to let that dry. Well, no, I'm not. I want to pull the ceiling. I'm going to be kind of in there as well. I am going to go back in to make the ceiling even darker in a second. And this may be too dark. I may have to darken this stuff, that back wall too. Or use a magic Kleenex and fix some of that back up. Yeah, it's a recessed door. I'm just kind of playing around with different ways of doing it. So I've got a little more indigo, and I want this fairly dark. I'm just going to see. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, that's all right. I may want this to be just a but what I may do is so it's a little bit of reflected light up in there. I might do it with a little bit of maybe like alizarin crimson so that I warm. That's close enough. So yeah, if I come in with a little alizarin crimson. Wash it. I don't know. Actually, I think I'm going to add a little bit of this violet, darker violet mix to the crimson and see what that. Yeah, I think that's a little bit. Looks weird right now, but as it dries, it'll be okay. And then what I want to do is soften this and soften this so that it.
What did you use on the left?
Right here?
Yeah, on the left side. What colors?
I used a little alizarin crimson, and then I didn't think that was dark enough, so I put in a little of the Granac violet mixed with royal blue to darken it up just a skosh. Mostly alizarin crimson, but then there's just a hint of darker violet mix in here as well. So mostly alizarin crimson, then just a hint of quinacridone magenta and royal blue. And I think once that dries, it'll start looking okay. I don't really, and I can add a few little details back to that door. What I am going to do now is come in with that same kind of it was like a alizarin crimson and burnt sienna and just a hint of, and I'm going to soften this, put a little bit down, and then really, really soften with water. And actually, I probably could have just softened the edge with water. I picked a little bit back up with a Kleenex. I think in this case, yep, I should forget about that mix of colors. Well, actually, that's not hurting anything, but really, I'm just softening. I'll pull this back in this way so I don't have a weird line. And then come back over here and pick this up. First, put down just some clean lines. Really squeeze my brush, come back in and pick it up with the edge of my brush. So you can kind of see how soft. Now up here, I think what I'll do is skip that other color and just kind of come in and soften this with water. Basically, I'm just softening it. And where I need to, I can come back in and add a little bit more color. But then I'll just pick some of it up. I think I will now add a little bit of that brown mix. Alizarin crimson, burnt yellow orange, and just a tiny bit of burnt sienna. Just kind of a bit of that right there. I don't want to go all the way around the other side because a bit of a shadow won't be. And if I just kind of soften the outer edge of that, you know, with a clean brush. I think I picked a little bit too much up over on the left hand side. Come back in, a little bit more down in there. But that should start looking like it's wrapped, you know, wrapped over right here.
Mhm.
Now I think I want to come back in and add a little bit more of that. Into the shadow. Ever so. I think that's starting to work. So now it's dry. I'm going to go back in there with that indigo. And just kind of hint at some of the shadows. So I've got the kind of beam going across there. And I've got the post. Look at the door. And that's pretty dark. So I'm going to take my, kind of find a clean spot, pick some of it back up. I don't know. Let's see if you can kind of see. Yeah, just enough of it in there that you can see it, but not a lot of detail because we don't need a lot of detail. It's in the dark, in the shadow back there. So. I'm kind of thinking this and this are together. So I do want, it feels like it's popping forward a little bit too much. I kind of need to fix that little knob right there as well. So I want to come in. I'm going to come in with just a little scarlet lace and put in a little bit more of this. I don't want it to be that dark, but I want it to kind of push back a little bit more. And I think because this is so light, maybe a little pop. Is that pyro orange as well? Looks like I'm putting a lot down, but before it dries, I'm gonna come in and pick up a lot of that just to have a little bit of color. I definitely want to pick up that pyro orange before it dries. If I get too much, because it will stain. I think that's going to help just a skosh. More of that scarlet leaf down in here. It'll really help sell that bead further back. I think that's working a little bit better. I may still even want just this little area right here a little bit more, but not too terrible. Yeah. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to come in here. Let's see. I'm going to come in with a little of that quinacridone magenta back up in here to kind of separate these two out. So I put a line of it down, but then I'm just clean my brush, pull that line over like that. And then I'm going to, let's see, actually I want to blue in that. So try that real quick. While I'm thinking about it, I want to fix this little area here. So that's green and royal blue mixed together. So I've just got something on my palette over here. I'm going to wet it and fix this little bit of a flub right here. Kind of clean that edge up just a bit, and clean that edge up a bit. And then, so it doesn't look like a line in, I'm going to kind of, let me zoom in. I'm going to bring in some more texture from that tree back in, really darken just for the contrast. That helped clean up that line just a skosh. And then if I dry that really quickly, I can come in with a real thin, kind of solid quinacridone violet, or no, violet, mostly quinacridone violet without too much of the, I may get a little bleed over into my puddle, but just a real thin wash. If I feel like I got too much on there, but this will help. Yeah, now I've got too little. Too much water, not enough paint in this case. Just to help push both of those back a little bit more. Let's see. Trying to do a big flat brush, but I think I need to switch to my number 6 round just to keep that pretty clean. It'll just help push that from the edge, and it'll look, it'll be in shadow back there. In my world, there's a whole slew of trees. Obviously, they're not there. Well, there is one over there, but it's not where I put it. And the reason, I didn't really go into a lot of detail here and didn't have that other little bump out, which is very similar to one over here, is because I felt like that was leading you just off. I want you to kind of get stuck in this. So I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. All right, so I'm going to put in some, the windows are just going to be dark. I'm going to go with, I think, a little indigo.
Michael,
Yeah.
it's 8:45.
Oh, shoot. Thank you for watching the clock. Why don't we stop here then? You guys want me to look at anybody's work? Or do you need to catch up with it?
I need to catch up,
Okay.
but the others might not feel the same way.
I'd like to show you what I stopped with,
Okay.
and that I'm going to redo it because it's just way too flat.
Okay, let me, let's see, spotlight. Okay, so let's see. Let me get a screenshot really quick. My computer never likes to cooperate. There we go. All right, let's see. And got it. So let's see here. So it's too flat.
It's what?
It's too flat. Is the thing?
Yes. The building is all one. I mean, I haven't started to put surfaces or I stopped. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think like me, let me add a real quick new layer so I can draw on this easily. I think one of the problems you have is, where is my, there it is. Oh, just a minute, forgot I'm dealing with 2 screens and I haven't been for a while. Okay, so let's grab some of that. So I think part of the problem is this goes up and it really should go down. So
Right.
to fix this, you could bring this up even more and really exaggerate how high that is.
Okay.
And then bring this line, in there, so you could fill, all this. And I'm not saying necessarily because you already have some blue in the sky and that might be a little bit difficult. But if that were light and then this dark came up even higher,
Yeah.
I think that would help. That's part of the problem. Same with here, you have a slight downward trajectory on this angle. And really
On which one?
on
Oh,
the
there. Uh-huh.
and really this should be that way more. So
Right.
kind of needs that angle. And I from what I can see, it's a little light, but I can kind of see your pencil line. I think your pencil line, well, I just drew it in kind of correctly, but your pencil line kind of is down a little bit. So you really want it to kind of, so if this comes all the way down here, you want this one to kind of come at it. That's too steep, but it kind of comes at a slightly down. It's still a little too steep. And then this one is doing the same thing. It's going from the high point here to a low point here.
Yeah.
It needs to be, whoops. Let me see if I can draw the other way. It really needs to be kind of more like that. And then you would
Okay.
get so then there's a kind of a post here. And I think what happened is you got this in, you painted this dark in the wrong spot. Really, it should be underneath here, like that. This area, that lighter, blue, the same colors, or it could be brown with the wood, but it needs to be lighter. This is really the dark part here. But I think the majority of your problem is really just you've got the.
Is the building.
Hmm?
Is the sketch to begin with.
Yeah, you really, because we're standing over kind of in this area of the paint, we're closer to this area. This is going to be taller over here. I mean, granted, it's all at the same time, and really, if we look at this would, I'm going to draw this imaginary line, but this would actually line up here. And it's going to make a line that goes from there all the way down to there.
Right.
And then this one is going to run parallel to that. So sometimes I found it helpful to draw in, like to look at that and draw in a very light pencil line all the way across at the angle that I think it's going to go in. And then that'll help me draw this line. And then I just come down with these from there.
Well, I'm sure you can see why I quit on it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I can totally understand. I was gonna bit there. But I don't think you were too far off. I think if you had waited to paint your sky, we could have.
I didn't do my sky.
Oh, is that white paper then? It's just got.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was because of the shadow, I think. The light at your house.
Yeah.
Blue. So yeah, no, actually, this is fixable, really, just by, unless you don't want to, but it is kind of fixable, just by bringing this same yellow right in this area.
Yeah.
And you could start with like a yellow and then blend it into this stuff here.
Before you take that away, let me take a picture of that, please.
Sure. But then, like same with up here, this would be,
Right.
filled in all the way up to there with that same yellow.
And then in the center there too. Okay.
Yeah, this would kind of be. So you could probably salvage this.
Well, I will try.
Yeah, this little bit, really, even though it's kind of dark, if you make the post kind of the same, and then really make these darks dark back in there.
Well, I don't see where your arrow is right now.
Underneath.
Oh,
this,
down there. Okay.
So if you really make this little area here, that's just the roof, and it comes back, and then there's like another little. Actually, it's more like, and there's like another little decorative bit like this back in there that's kind of in shadow. That is the ceiling. And for yours, I mean, there's got to be a reason for it to be there. But for yours, because you put the window here, maybe the door's on the left hand, the sort of inside wall, this bump out. Maybe the door goes in that way instead of in that way, like I have on mine.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter that you have a window there. But you'd have this little roof.
Yeah, it's my world.
Yeah, in your world, you have a little roof area, and the door enters into the building in that direction. In my opinion,
Right.
So really, yeah, you can come in and we'll add some dark shadows to the to the underside of this, and I'm going with the same color, so it's really hard for me to double up on the dark. Once you get dark in Photoshop, it's dark. But we'll add a little bit of a shadow and whatnot, and then you'd have a little bit of a drop shadow. So this would come down maybe like that for a bit of a
Right.
shadow,
Okay.
or you could even bring it out further. It could come down into there, either side. Just don't right at this line of the window.
Right. Right.
And then this, and then maybe a bit of post would be a bit of shadow in there too.
Well, thanks. I'll try and rectify it.
Yeah, once you've got this skin, then go in and erase that light line that you've got in there,
Right.
and then you'll be in good shape. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Anybody else? Jesse, I see your whole hand up, so let's there.
Oh, nice.
That's looking good. Let's let me grab a.
Right.
Did your phone fall over
My iPad.
or iPad? Can you pull back just a scope and up just a touch? There you go.
That
Perfect.
looks good, Jesse.
Yeah.
Really nice.
It is.
Okay, I got a picture of it. Screen. Yeah. So just a couple little tiny things. Let me get rid of the eraser. This right here is a little wonky. It actually needs to. This actually needs to come almost straight across, like that, and then down from there. Actually, I would bring this up just a bit, and then down like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then try and see if you. Whoops. See if you can go in and lift this little bit here out. Let me. Nope. Okay, let's try it on this one. If you can lift this little bit out, whoops. And then what? And actually, if you just let me just. Actually, I think if you lift this little bit here out and this little bit like that, so really it should be like that.
Okay.
That's just see if you can lift it out. If you can't, then you may have to go up a little higher. But let me get back in here. Yeah. And then what I would do with that shadow, that cast shadow there,
Yes.
Is I'm going to draw it on there. You don't need to make it this dark. That darkness that you have there is not too bad. I might darken it up a little bit, but it'll actually come out and down a little bit, and then I would bring it in here. It'll help push this wall back a little more. If it's just a scope darker, not as dark as this, a tiny bit darker than what you've got.
Okay.
And pull it out just a wee bit more. You had that angle up here, and really it needs to be right here.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you just put a light wash, and if you want, I mean, you could pull it out even more, a little bit past that. It'll help push this wall back, push here forward a little bit more. And I think just lifting that little corner out and then lifting that, you had it right here like that. Lifting that little corner out so it looks, let's see if I can turn, you can see kind of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Just kind of lift a little bit like that. That's pretty good. Also, I would soften this just a skosh here, but it's looking pretty good. Like soften these just a bit. Well, and by soften, really just come in with a little water and try and pull it up a little bit more. And if you can't quite get it, just drop a little more color above it.
Okay.
But that's looking really good. I like it.
Hey, Jesse, what color did you use on your trees? Is that indigo?
It's royal blue and royal blue, and then Hooker's green is in my second little layer, and then I went back to the blue again.
Something I've been noticing on mine, and I'm noticing it on yours too, is I may need to, and I think you might need to as well, bring this roof line over here and put in yellow, put in this color stuff here.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine, and my tree's a little bit closer to the edge of my paper than yours is, but I still think I need the same thing. So yeah, it's not very dark yellow that I sampled there, but you get the idea.
Right.
Maybe if I use that ochre, more ochre color, but yeah, just kind of pull that in, and then that light, just do that light down into this same wash that you did here. And that'll help because it looks like the building like that wide, and then you have this nice picture window right here, and you think, wow, that's really that's even at its widest right here, that's really close to the edge. Which it's close to the edge over here too, but I'd be willing to bet it's it's more likely in here.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's I might go back in and lift a little bit of this cast shadow and then put in a touch of, pull those lines that you got here. I'm not doing a pretty good job of redrawing them, but
where are you? I'm not seeing that.
Right here in the doorway, in this
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Where this is. Go in, and you could even lift out instead of trying to paint them in darker. You could do a little lifting and lift out some of these shapes, and it'll help flatten that or help show that door is there. Because right now it just looks like it's getting.
Okay. Yeah, the bottom of the post where it hits red flower, I'm working on that. I tried to lift that.
Yeah. That's all right. It's I think is looking fantastic. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Anybody else?
I'm running out of power, so I gotta go.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll look at yours next week. Let's see, Richard. So, hey, that's looking pretty good. Back. Perfect, right there.
Where did I lose that power cord?
All righty, I got it. Let's take a look at this. All right. I think you moved right as I was taking the shot slightly, and it's a little bit blurry, but
Uh-oh.
I think you're coming along good. I mean, I can kind of I don't know. Can you see it? Can you see do I have the right screen up?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I can once I share it, I can never tell if it's the right screen or not. Because I have I have the laptop and then I have an external monitor. I've got this up on my external monitor, and I always forget which. I think I push number 2, but then so let me just because you're holding it at a wee bit of an angle, so let me.
Oh.
And that's okay. Let me just straighten it real quick. What am I looking for? What is it? It's what is that behind? I hate it when I can't. There it is. Let's see here. I think that let's just go with that one. Nope, that's not what I want. Image. Rotate. That's pretty close to straight. It's a little wonky, but that's okay. So let me just kind of move it up. There. So what I'm seeing here is that you're having a little bit of the same issue that Janie was having. So let's see. So I think that this needs to come, like what I would do is not even worry about it, because we can fix that with the mountain back there, but bring the yellows on. I'm using a slightly darker orange, but bring that yellow on up to that same height as that.
Okay.
And then let's see, you've got that. That looks pretty right. That looks good. I think that this line here where you were putting the shadow in is a little bit too dark. So what you've got the line in there for the shadow.
Yep.
What I might do is lift a little bit of it. Let me sample. I would, let's see, that's behind the roof. Okay, there we go. What I would do is lift a little bit of that line that you've got in there with water.
Okay.
Right up to, like right in there. So lift that out, but then bring it down. Yeah, so you've got it kind of coming down here, then bring it down like this. And actually,
all right.
So you've got, let me get a darker color here. Sorry. I don't want to go too dark, but let me get this light purple here. So it's going to come out, and then it's going to come down to about there, and then you're going to bring it down here. But then come in and make a wash of this kind of medium dark all over this whole thing. You know, watching what you've got going on here with your bushes.
Yeah.
We can come in and really darken this window up later. So
Okay.
don't worry about that getting covered up. Let's see. I think the perspective on your window is a little off as well. But again, if you just bring this light yellow down there like that, in there,
Okay.
I think that'll fix it. And then, because the window panes are going to be darker, so then you can go back in and redo this line and this line, and these you want pretty parallel.
Yeah.
You know, straight up and down, or vertical and parallel. But then this line can be at a slight angle. This corner here, a little higher than that corner. Same with this. And then because the panes will be so dark, like you've already got this one. This one's really good. This line here you've got. So just straighten and don't worry about what you've got already on there, because these panes are going to be even darker than this. I think this is looking pretty good though. And here's another thought. You don't necessarily have to do window panes like I am. It could just be one solid dark. Like you've done with this window over here. You kind of made this window one solid dark. If I make that darker than the shadow, you know, that could be the way to do it. You don't necessarily have to do a pane. I am just because I wanted to. Yours could be a solid, window. And then I think you've got your kind of blue beam going across here and your post, but then your shadow stops before you get up to it. So you need to pull your shadow all the way up to the bottom edge of that.
Okay.
So, and really what that is it's not even the shadow, it's the ceiling, it's the underside of that. So that needs to be pulled up all the way to there. And then you'll have a wee bit of a shadow. It's gonna be so this needs to be fairly dark.
Yeah.
This bit, but then this part, this little cast shadow here, will be, a little bit lighter. It'll be more like this, the darkness that you have, this level of darkness in the bushes here.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be more like that level of darkness. Same with this shadow, this cast shadow. You're going to want this shadow right here, super dark, kind of like you have it. But then this cast shadow is only going to be the same value as this section here.
Yeah.
Same with this this is going to be super dark like this, but then this cast shadow that's coming down here is only going to be that value.
Yeah.
And then I think, like, I would push this just a skosh. I would come in with some red or something.
Uh-huh.
And kind of put a little bit in there, a wash. I can only do like sharp lines. I don't have watercolor brushes in Photoshop, but kind of thin it out, put some paint down and then thin it out with water towards the center and out as you go. And then kind of around the edge of your little thing here, but real light. It's a light wash that's slightly darker than this value, which you have here, that's a super light, and this value, which is medium. This is going to be a dark light, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is looking great. Looking good. Didn't you tell me you started over?
No.
No. What? Tell me this.
I think about starting over, but still am.
No. You were asking me about the shadows. That's what. Yeah, you were asking about shadows. So I think I was trying to remember what you asked me this afternoon.
Well, if I remembered, Okay, the area where I had that, well, I messed it up, and it's the reason why I want to start over again, but it was more or less going into the building and kind of having a 3D effect.
Oh, right. In this area here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is salvageable. I think you could make this work. If it were me, now I would go ahead and, you've got this one pine tree here.
Mm-hmm.
I would go ahead and add some over the side too.
Okay.
Kind of, that way you don't have to worry about all this side of it. So maybe have one, that's about, I'm going to scribble it in here. This is terrible, but one that's about like that tall.
Yeah.
And maybe another one over here that's maybe slightly behind that's that tall. That comes down, and then they can be behind this fleshy stuff that you've got here. But then bring this, then just bring this building over here like that.
Okay.
At the end. In fact, this tree could be behind that tree or behind that building, so that you, when you bring this over, this could be just a solid, dark kind of once you get over towards the building there, coming down. And then you don't even have to worry about the rest of that little building over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think this is looking good, though.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
Oh, thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll show mine.
Okay.
You can tell me the trees are awful, but oh well. Okay, hang on.
Oh, there you go. All right. Can you pull? Yeah, there you go. Kind of hold it right there. Let me make this a little bit. Actually, can you go up just a skosh? And then pull it back just a wee bit. Right. And then back up just a skosh. Sorry. I mean, up towards like this. There you go. Perfect. Got it. Yeah, perfect. It takes forever to sort of download it onto my, once I take the screenshot for it to sort of appear. Okay. What do you mean? I don't think this is looking bad at all. Let me share the screen here real quick. So what was your thought?
Well, I'm going to take off about an inch and maybe a half off of the left-hand side. You can see a pencil mark.
Oh yeah, right here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take that off.
That's okay. That is a legitimate way to improve the composition.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's I kind of agree with it. I think if you just chop that wee bit off right there where you've got that line. I didn't follow it very well, but I think that'll help. I am doing a terrible job of drawing straight lines, but you get the point. You've already figured it out, so yeah, right. That's a good spot to here.
Oh, there you go. Even more. That's even better.
Yeah. So just something like that. I think that's a legitimate way to help. Here, so I would. You've got this. Let me get right perfect. You've got this kind of sharp edge right here.
Mm-hmm.
I would go in and soften the upper part of that. So pull some of this darker color up into this area and out this way.
Okay.
So you don't have just a line of color. You want kind of I mean, I have a little bit of a line on mine, but not quite as. So if you soften that a little bit, it'll. But soften it that. Let's see. Soften it in that direction.
Okay, yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
And that'll help get rid of the line, but then it'll actually help further push this whole bit here back and pull this whole bit forward.
Okay.
And then I think, let's see, this is looking pretty good. Oh, this is looking nice. That's really my only major thought on this.
Okay.
I think we could go in and spatter some water on this tree. It's pretty dark. And lift.
Right on the right-hand side. I know. I just have trouble with pines. It's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know what to do with them.
Well, it's a nice shape. It's a good shape. I think it's just a little dark, a little too solid. I think if you spatter some water on it with a brush, with a toothbrush, like just let me stop sharing the, just hold the toothbrush and do that with water.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you get one of those spray bottles, but I find that just putting a little bit of water in your toothbrush, not a lot, and then just hitting it against your finger like this, you get some good spatter. You'll get some good spatter on that. Let me go back to sharing the screen. You'll get some good spatter in there. Let it set for about 10 seconds, and then blot it, and then scrub it with a dry towel.
Okay.
Blot it up pretty good. And then I would actually make at least this one, but possibly, well, definitely this one, because it's behind the building, whereas this one's front,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's even further back. But I would try and take some of this dark you've got in this pine tree and put a little bit of it in this area.
Okay.
All of. I still don't have a really dark. Let me see if that'll help. You've got this kind of tree. This tree sort of coming in. It looks like in front to me.
I know it does.
So I would leave it in front, and I would just make this whole. I'm using just one color because it's really hard to blend color in Photoshop without taking a lot of time. But I would make this whole maybe just use water here up in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So come in with water, and then about here in this area, start adding paint. This green that you've got into the blues and greens, whatever you were using. So this I like this kind of light here. Maybe it'll catch those rays of afternoon sun kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just start painting water on top of this. But then when you get to this spot down, then start adding paint.
Uh-huh.
And keep it pretty liquid so it flows together. But really darken this whole bit of tree. I'm doing a terrible job of drawing with a mouse, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Really darken that up. And then once you get down into this area, make it as dark as this tree over here on the right.
Okay.
And that'll help push that tree back. Like even if just by scribbling in a little bit, you can see that it's starting to push that tree back.
Uh-huh.
And this is using the terrible tool of Photoshop. Don't let the college know that I said that because I teach Photoshop. It's just not good for one. But you see how it pushed that tree back and it starts to push forward, this whole building forward in front of that tree a little bit, just by making that a little bit darker.
Okay. Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's looking really good. And then, you know, if it feels too dark, once you've done that, you can go back in with the toothbrush again once it's dry, 100% dry. You can spatter some paint and get some texture with this into that. Oops, sorry. Come on, mouse not working. Some texture back into this dark area.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank
Good
you.
job. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, me,
All right.
a picture. Reverse it. Oh, wait. How did you say to do this?
Just turn on the, it should be next to your microphone control
Oh, wait.
on your iPad. It's the little video camera bit thing. Looks like a little video camera.
I was trying to do it on my phone. Why? Wait.
Oh, on your phone? Well, however you do it. There you go.
Up here.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell Kathy, and I couldn't. Her bushes up front are really good.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, right there now.
Yeah, actually pull it back just and up just a bit. So back yeah, and then up towards yeah, up. Oh, we lost your
Dang it.
You almost had it.
How do I take?
Oh, don't just so move it toward, let's see. Is your phone pointing up, straight up?
iPad. Actually,
your iPad pointing straight up?
okay, now it's at parallel to the picture.
Oh, okay. So move yours back away from the iPad just a skosh more. And then towards the top of the iPad. Perfect. Right. Hold it right there. Good job. It's hard for you guys to see what I'm seeing, but I only have so much screen, and then the little thingy gets in the way, and then I get a picture of the little what am I saying? The little the dock on my Mac pops up, and it's in the way of the photo. Even if I do it on my other monitor over here, it doesn't matter. It's weird. So share screen, desktop 2. There we go. Okay. This is looking really nice.
I made my tree on the right a little too small. I had to add, and I got it the right color. Should it have been darker or lighter?
No, I think that's looking really good. I like that. It's looking great.
I'm wondering about the color that I put on the wall.
Oh, here on the wall?
Side of the tree.
And behind it over here? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because you said left. So I figured that might be a little bit darker. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I think it's working pretty good.
Does it look okay?
Yeah. I think it's fine. You could pull a little bit of this color here that you have. You could pull a little bit of it over onto this side, and then just mix up a little bit of that. Put a little bit on this side of the tree, and then once you put some down, then just pull it over with water towards this direction. But don't go all the way to the the edge. You have this really nice, really blend right here. So you could, I don't know that I would do a whole lot. Like I wouldn't even come out as far as I did on this. I just realized that I didn't make myself a second layer. So I can't erase very easily. But yeah, I would just bring a little bit in over here and then blend it with water into this. So just clean water on your brush, and then just do a nice easy blend all the way over into there.
Okay.
And for you, you've got this sort of dead space here. You've got enough. You've got enough
Okay.
that you could even add another, tree in here if you wanted to, just to kind of help with that. So even if you put like that hill behind it, I think I would add another tree
Okay.
in here just to fill that a little bit. And then, mine's pretty late. I might spatter some water on some of these darks, like on this green here, even some of this orange. And get some speckled. And we'll do a little bit of that next week. I'll show you what I'm talking about next week. But really, I think this is looking really good. What I might do is take these colors, these kind of pastel-y darks that you've got going on here, in the cast shadow. Like in this area here, this shadow right there, and I would do a wash of those over this.
Yeah. Well, you know what I did? I was looking at your original picture, and that's why I added that left cursor is right now. I was trying to make that that's why the dark there to the left.
Yeah. And then actually this back in here, the door for this little porch thing is actually, it's going to be hard for me to explain, but it actually goes in that way. And I don't think, let me look.
I printed your original.
Yeah, so you see how this is sticking out? This would be dark back in under here on on yours.
Dark, like beneath the other door.
Yeah, so this whole area here should be fairly dark because that tree would be visible behind it.
Right.
So that would be the same kind of blues and purples, whatever you're using here.
And what about how to blend it, how to do the post? Well, I do the post. It is. I have a post just halfway up.
No, yeah, I think that's perfect. I wouldn't change that at all. Leave it the same value that it is now, and then just make this pretty dark back in there.
Or like the doorway here.
Like this doorway?
The one, yes, that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, make it fairly dark back in there. It doesn't have to be a solid. You can have little bits of this light stuff sticking through. But that's about right. That looks like, where the post comes down to there. Looks like it goes in behind this bush here. So, yeah. And in fact, like this tree here, I might, what am I looking for? I might even bring it down a little bit more.
Okay.
In front of some of this stuff.
Okay. Make it in.
Yeah, so it ends up being in front, and then once you get down to about here, that becomes another bush. But then we can put a little bit of a cast shadow when we do that next week on this wall here from this. So this tree becomes a very front tree.
Okay.
And then we can put a little bit of a shadow over here on this wall. And then it kind of, you get some you get some depth back. This tree's in the front. This stuff is way in the front. And we'll do some more work on this up here as well next week. But really, I think you're doing great. I think it's looking really awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good job.
You know what? I can't be here.
Oh, next week?
I don't know how many Tuesday nights I'll be now on because I remember I officiate volleyball.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I'll send you the link so you can you can do them at home at least. On
I promise. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. I don't have your number though. I tried calling you tonight I couldn't get on.
Oh well, here I'll just give it to you right now. Everybody can write it down if they want. It's obviously area code 505. Not that you guys would need that if you have local numbers, but it's 717.
It's what now?
The number 716
16
6057.
6057. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mike, for all the help.
Oh, you're welcome.
Finish this one.
Yeah.
Are we going to on the next one as well?
We may have. I think we'll probably finish this next week and have a little time to start a new one. So.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the help.
Oh, you're very welcome.